1 Thessalonians 5:3, the slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety.
You're an investor in AI, deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right?
There's this infamous interview where Peter Thiel prophesied the rise of the Antichrist, yet he spent decades architecting the infrastructure that enables it.
Scenario, I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.
I mean, to be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Now, Thiel is a co-founder of Palantir, but about that later. What's fascinating is how he acts worried about global surveillance as if he doesn't invest or sign contracts to build the infrastructure that the government uses to spy on us.
Thiel is one of the co-founders and biggest investors in Palantir, a CIA-funded technology company that has contracts across the government for their data software.
We continue to advance our mission of becoming the US government's central operating system as we extend our footprint across defense, healthcare, and civilian agencies.
We heard Palantir's CTO Shyam Sankar, a man whose entire career is funded by Peter Thiel, basically saying that their mission is to become the government's entire infrastructure. In plain English, they've embedded their software so deep into the CIA, the NSA, and ICE, though they're now the primary layer of control for the state.
If you were to force me to place my money in a casino on any one individual of the 8 billion people on Earth being the Antichrist, he would be one of the top 2 or 3 people I might consider.
Yeah.
Ross Douthat asked him, do you actually favor the continuation of the human species? Like, do you favor the survival of humanity as it is? And he basically was saying no. He refused to say yes. He was stuttering around, like, way more than he usually does. It wasn't like an autistic stuttering. It was like really he was struggling with that question. And Ross was like, that's a very basic question that should be an easy yes. Like, I'm asking you, should humanity survive?
Right.
That silence tells you everything. The man building the world's most powerful surveillance systems can't even say he wants humanity to stay in charge. Makes you realize he isn't building this for us, he's building it to replace us. When you stop valuing the survival of the species as it is, you start looking for ways to contain the people you disagree with, and that's exactly how Palantir CEO Alex Karp justifies his power by reclassifying his political rivals as something far more dangerous than just an opposition party.
The central risk to Palantir and America and the world is actually a form of a thin pagan religion called woke, but is actually
We are at war with China. We are in an AI arms race. But this war started long ago.
While the rest of the world debates ethics, Palantir is busy declaring wars they're already profiting from.
our primary mission is, in fact, to set a global standard for the world for behavior.
And if you don't like their standards,
We partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare enemies and, on occasion, kill them. And we hope you're in favor of that.
Peter Thiel wrote a book on this. Literally, it's called 0 to 1, and the subtitle might as well be written How to Kill Your Competition and Become God. He calls it a creative monopoly. The idea is to be so integrated in the system that there's no real substitute for you. Palantir are becoming the central operating system of the US government. From the CIA to the IRS, they built a core called the ontology. It's designed to transform raw data into valuable insights, or in plain English, to make the government so dependent on them that it can never pull the plug. Alex Karp says they're not ashamed to work for the US military. It's a convenient bit of patriotism for a company whose valuation is essentially a bet on perpetual conflict. And it's a bet they're winning. You don't have to take my word for it. Just look how this journalist describes their rage, followed by Karp's own admission of how much control they have. Palantir sits at the heart of privatized surveillance state. Its growing dominance is set to define global politics. If you're doing anything that involves operational intelligence, you're gonna have to find something like our product. According to Karp, for you to be safe, someone else has to wake up scared and go to bed scared.
And safe means that the other person is scared. That's how you make someone safe.
Thiel warns about the Antichrist bringing peace and safety, while his own company decides who's actually allowed to be safe. When Karp rants about woke people, he's not just talking about politics. He's the CEO of the company running the CIA's infrastructure. To him, woke is a target profile.
If you're a progressive, if you have progressive values, meaning you just, care about other people, the CEO of the company building America's technological back end thinks of you as the central risk. He thinks of you as the enemy. Are these the people you want running the systems you rely on, or worse, the systems that surveil you?
The reality is that Palantir's more beyond being a software contractor is now the central nervous system for the CIA and the military. The Gotham software runs on predictive policing, scoring your records to create a personal profile and predict your behavior before it happens. Within this system, your values are not rights, they're security risks.
I run around, I get yelled at all the time for Ukraine, ICE, Israel, and generally telling the truth, which I would call, okay, great. I get yelled at in private, in public, in family settings here, and in business sections. And I've had customers say, hey, I don't want to work with you because any of those views are all of the above. I'll tell you what I also have a lot of. A lot of people are like, yeah, I agree with you. I just could never say that.
For most tech companies, disruption means a faster ARP. For Palantir, it means a more efficient way to end lives.
Now, Palantir is a company that provides software primarily to Western governments, especially the US government. It has been given huge contracts from the US military and the Department of Homeland Security and the notoriously violent immigration agency, ICE.
At Palantir, we are unashamed to admit that we work on behalf of the American warfighter.
So 15 years ago, Peter Thiel, like the supervillain in a movie explaining his plan to the hero, admitted that he can use technology to get his ideas across when they're unpopular, completely subverting democracy.
He essentially said that if people won't vote for his vision, he'll just use software to build it anyway. Here's how he explained the logic back in 2009.
We could never win an election on getting certain things because we were in such a small minority. But maybe you could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people and beg people and plead with people who are never going to agree with you through a technological means. And this is where I think technology is this incredible alternative to politics.
Thiel talks about space for freedom while his company is stripping away your rights.
The Trump administration is relying on Palantir to conduct mass surveillance of Americans, of US citizens, to compile and synthesize data from all US government agencies in order to help the government spy better on its own citizens.
But that control doesn't stop at the border. When you own the infrastructure of the most powerful intelligence agency, you don't just watch your own people, you dictate the terms of global security.
If you're a foreign power, something really bad is going to happen to you and your friends and your cousins and your bank account and your mistress and whoever was involved.
CORP describes a system that can effectively dismantle a person's life by targeting everything they care about, but pay very close attention to this next part because it reveals the massive hypocrisy behind this power. By building a machine that can crush an individual with a few strokes, Thiel has constructed the exact world he spent his entire life warning us about.
The irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival.
Thiel spent his life warning us about the government having excess power while he was the one building the tools to give it to them.
Tycoons like him, they basically view themselves as transcendent beings, as kind of the Ubermensch, and there's a lot of reasons why billionaires become accustomed to thinking that way. They're surrounded by people who treat them that way. They have the kind of power that makes them believe that they're uniquely capable of doing that.